All right, this video will cover how to change the colors of your filament. We have a roll of pink and a roll of black up here, and this will go over the procedures of how to unload and load filament. First thing we're going to do is make sure we know which filament we're talking about. So we'll go ahead and pull off the spool. Be careful not to tangle up the filament, and make sure we know that we're dealing with PLA. Different filaments melt at different temperatures, and you have to make sure you're using the correct temperature. So we'll go ahead and push the LCD button to bring up our first menu. We'll scroll down till it says Preheat. We'll push the button to select that. Scroll down again to select PLA and push that. And at this point, the display reached 21 out of 215 degrees. So the printer is going to go ahead and continue to heat up the nozzle until this gets to 215 out of 215. Once the nozzles reach the temperature, we'll be able to proceed. So I will go ahead and pause this video until the nozzle's gotten up to the correct temperature. All right, our screen says that we're at 217 out of 215. The temperature is not going to stay perfect. It'll go a little bit above and a little bit below, but as long as we're close to 215, that means that the nozzle is warm enough for us to continue with our unload operation. Obviously, since the filament is inside, we're going to pull it out and we'll switch over to the pink. I'm going to go ahead and click my LCD button to bring up the menu. I'm going to scroll down past the bottom line to where it says unload filament. I'm going to go ahead and grab hold of my filament with one hand, and I'm going to push the unload button with my other hand. When I do that, I'm going to pull up on the filament gently. And you can see the filament, the gear is spinning to release the filament from the end. We'll go ahead and cut off the last 3 or 4 inches of this filament. It's got a melted end that's not going to be good to put back in the filament. Or will be good to put back into the printer. So you make sure and cut that off. Now you can go ahead and take the other end of your filament. Always want to make sure that you hold on to the end of the filament. Never let it go. It should either be in the spool, it should be in the filament, it should be in the extruder, or it should be in your hand. You should never let go of this filament. It'll get kind of untangled and then tangled up on the spool, and it's really hard to untangle. When you're ready to load the filament, just double check to make sure that your temperature is still okay, and you're just going to push this filament back into the same hole the other one came out of. It'll sense that there's filament coming inside, the extruder will spin, and if you gently grab right here, you should feel the filament getting pulled between your fingers. And I can feel it sliding through there. We can see the black that was left over in the nozzle is starting to ooze out. It's still black. So my screen asks me if the color is correct. I'm going to scroll down and say no. And it's just going to continue to extrude more filament until it gets all the black that was in the nozzle pushed out, and we switched over to pink. I'm going to say no one more time just to make sure that all of that black is out of there and that we're just getting pink. It's a little bit hard to see with the green background, but when you're in person it'll be easy to see. When it's correct, you can go ahead and hit yes, and we're back to our normal home screen. You can just grab this and pull this out, and you've successfully loaded your filament in the correct color. That's how you unload and load a new filament. First step is to check your filament type. Second step is to preheat to the correct temperature. Third step is to unload the old filament, making sure to never let go of the end, put it back in the spool. Next step is to load in your new filament. Make sure that the color is correct.